I'm sure that some of you have been here for the last few weeks seeing me either come up with some friends that look like I've maybe twisted their arm. Don't get nervous. If I was going to pick on you, I already would have talked to you. But anyways, again, like I've said before, as Katie and Orv had asked me to help finding people that could explain their experiences relating to the message for each week, this one was really special. Well, they've all been really special, but I've thought about my friends Steve and Fran and the journey that they have shared with me at different times over a lot of years. And so I did talk to them and ask if they would come up and talk to us a little bit about their journey of religion experience into relationship and where Jesus has shown up in that. So I asked Fran first if you would talk to us.
I started in religion, doing church. I was in a great family. My dad read the Bible daily. My parents were very involved in church. We were in an Anglican church in Sarnia. And I did all the things that I was supposed to. I went to Sunday school. I joined the choir. I helped in Sunday school. I remember as a very young child, because I got into a lot of mischief, and I had quite an imagination, I remember one day being afraid to step out of the front door of the house to say goodbye to visitors because I thought the hand of God was going to come down and smack me for what I'd done. So I don't know where that came from, but I guess it was part of my imagination. I don't know. But I did not understand that whole part about a relationship with God. So some time went on, and in my late teens, my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And this was in the mid to late 60s, and the medications were just being developed, and he volunteered to be a guinea pig, and he had a very difficult time. And I was so mad at God because I blamed God. I didn't know God. I just knew that this was my dad who read the Bible every day and went to church and tithed and was so faithful. He'd been through the war, and now 20 years later he had Parkinson's. So I was so mad that I made a declaration to my dad that there was no God. And looking back, that must have hurt my dad very much. But that's what I said because that's what I felt. So fast forward 10 horrific years for my dad, and he died suddenly and tragically. And that was really difficult, put me in shock. And then my mom said, well, maybe we won't be able to have a memorial service because of the way he died. And I couldn't believe that that could possibly be the way the Anglican Church would treat my father. But luckily our family minister knew us well and had a different heart. And so he said, absolutely. And I remember as clearly as if it was yesterday, running up the stairs between the basement and the sanctuary at our church. And suddenly just knowing that there was a God, he was a good God, and my dad was with him. And I had this peace come on me that I couldn't understand. I didn't know what that was about. And I didn't know what to do with that for a few years. A couple of years later, Steve and I were expecting our first child, Emily, who's now 34. And we decided, we had this conversation, we need to go to church. We don't know why, but we know it's a good thing to raise your children in the church. We honestly had no reason to understand why. We had no relationship with God. And so we came here. And fast forward, and we started doing church again. And I was acting on committees and helping in Sunday school. And it was the same thing as when I was a kid. And then one day, about the late 80s, Heather Germain approached me and said, you know what, there's a group, and I hardly knew Heather, there's a group of women who are going to come together, and we're going to find out if there's more to Christianity than coming to church on Sunday. And that changed everything for me because I knew I was supposed to be in this group. And in that group, we learned about what it means to know God and how much God knew us and has walked with us all our lives, even though we put up stop signs in front of his face. And We had healing, we had love, we had God's love, and my heart began to change in a dramatic way through that experience. And that journey started right there. I prayed to know God more. I had give me a hunger to know you. And he continues to this day to work on that. So that was a huge change for me. And then I decided, even though I don't know the answers to all my questions, I made a point of, okay, this is my day. I am going to become a Christ follower. And that was significant for me because I was caught for a while in unanswered questions, but my faith was growing and my trust was growing. So I said, okay, God, I'm yours, but don't send me to Africa.
I'm so glad you didn't forget that part.
Because all my life, based on a childhood storybook, I had this fear of Africa. So about 15 years later, when a friend from high school living in Minnesota said, we're going to start a mission in Malawi, we think maybe you should think about coming. I knew immediately, in spite of all that fear, that I was supposed to go, that God would empower me and enable me, that he would protect me and be with me and show up in a mighty way. And you know, I've been back 4 times, and God has never disappointed me. So just in summary, I'm a different person. I'm in a different place. I'm in a different space. I give God the glory and the honor for that because his Holy Spirit has transformed my life. Jesus has shown me forgiveness and grace. And I know God's love, and it's made all the difference.
Thank you.
My journey's been different in some ways. We did church as a family. I sang in choirs. I did all the things, even through my teens into my early 20s, and got away from it. And as Fran alluded to, we came here when we were expecting Emily, and we did church. We showed up. We tried to help out by serving. I was asked one day, you want to be an elder? Okay, what does that mean? So I started down that road, and very shortly thereafter, in a number of years, our congregation was in turmoil, and I got thrust into a leadership role, and I knew I was in trouble. There was so much stuff going on, and I had no experience. I didn't know God, really. And I was being braced in the halls out here, people saying, this is my problem with what's going on right now. What are you going to do to fix it? Imagine a minister showing up at your doorstep on a Monday night with a bottle of scotch.
Imagine.
No, I should have said before Orville and Drew. This happened numerous times. I was just lost. I had no idea what to do about this. And then people started coming up to me. Some of them are here today. And they just said, what can I do to help you? What do you need from me? Call me. You want to pray? And as the years went on, and this was over a journey of a number of years, more and more of this started to happen, and I got the sense that I wasn't supposed to do all of this, or the group of us wasn't. And it was a huge group. At that time, we had 120 elders, if you can imagine, trying to pull all those people together to get stuff done. Any event, as life went on, more and more I had a sense that there was something going on with me, in me, and around me, and that we'd get through this. I remember one day, I'm not sure if it was in a service or it was a conversation, but Orville talked to me. I picked up the message about, you know what? It isn't just about praying here on Sundays or at the beginning or the end of your day. Start talking to God anytime. And Orville talked about doing it in the car. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. And this is before the days of Bluetooth, so you can imagine the strange looks you get when you're driving down the street and you're mouthing them. Any event, I started inviting God to be with me in all of the things that I was doing during the day that were client meetings and that, just in my day. And I started reflecting at the end of the day on what those experiences were like, and they were always better. No matter what the outcome, they were better. And I started to really have a sense that there was somebody beside me all the time. I just had to raise up just make sure I was inviting him to be part of what was going on. And that, to this day, has been more and more a part of what I try and do on a daily basis. When I'm on my game, I'm really thinking about that. Then there was a number of other things along in waypoints, and I'm talking waypoints rather than a moment. Going to Mexico with 19 other great guys, the bond that was created there in that experience. I remember the leader in the first day saying, if you will open up your hearts this week, you will experience Jesus. And I did. I did. I can't talk. I know the other guys did too in many different ways, but I did in a very significant, meaningful way. Lately, the most recent example I can give you is when I was involved with the Board of Trustees and we were looking at this build of the renovation. And we were pretty frustrated because it was a lousy time in the financial marketplace. No bank wanted to talk to us about what we could do about financing this project and guaranteeing all of that sort of stuff. And I took a day off, and I just sat down at my computer and said, I've got to go to the United Church of Canada and find somebody to help us, because otherwise this is going to be real bad. And I prayed for about 10 minutes, and I just, at the end of it, invited God and Jesus to be there with me as I started trolling through the website. And I went through the entire website. There's a lot of names and ministries at the United Church head office, let me tell you. And I went by this person's name twice, but I always felt I should go back, and I called her. And she said, yeah, I know what you're trying to do there. My husband's a minister, and he and Orv were talking about it, and he said, we think it's a great thing you're trying to accomplish there. And this is so much more than a renovation. You don't know what's planned for you guys. But my ministry can't help you. There's another person I think who can. He's away right now. I'll get him to call you Monday. My first thought was, right. Monday morning, I got a call. And the guy said, hi, I'm Eric. I think I can help you. And he did. And the reason we were able to do this was because of what he and the United Church of Canada put in place. And I remember the prayers and I had peace over that weekend. Like I was, my cynicism just got dropped right at the door on Friday night. And I had a peace about what was going to go forward, and it did. So those are some of the things, but paralleling all of this, and I can't get into all of the details, it would take too long. I had a significant estrangement in my life. It started before I met Fran, and it was always there. It was a void. It was almost an elephant in the room at times. And it was a very difficult situation, and again, I was trying to fix it. I just took it on. I thought, somehow this can get resolved. I know we can get there. It may take time, but we'll get there. I remember one day, I don't know exactly what the circumstances were, but I finally realized I was helpless in this situation. I could not do this. And I didn't give it to God. I threw it at him. I was mad, angry, and I finally just said, okay, I can't do this anymore. And I threw it at him. And over the next, and I guess it was about 6 months later, I started to feel a sense of release. Now, it's hard to describe. Here was a circumstance where I'll give you an example. I went to the Canadian Open with a friend, and I walked up to one of the tents to get lunch, and this person walked up to me and said, hi, what can I get you? And I looked at this person, and I thought, I can't believe this is happening. I went back harder than ever trying to get this resolved. It didn't happen. But my sense of peace around this continued to grow. And it was just a sense of, it's going to work out. Be patient. I'm with you. It'll work out. It took another 14 years. but it has resolved itself in the most amazing way that we couldn't have imagined. There has been forgiveness, reconciliation, grace, and love in measures that I find hard to describe. So,
And joy.
sorry about being long-winded.
And joy, lots of joy. Thank you
you,
very
John.
much. Thank you. Thanks.